This week on Christian World News, on election night 2016, the pundits got it wrong, but one Florida firefighter called it, thanks to a prophecy that he says was revealed to him by God. And this man gave up wealth and comfort and prestige to serve the poorest of the poor. Meet the missionary doctor who says he's gained much more than he's lost. Plus, we'll meet the high school student who started a nationwide ministry introducing others to Jesus. And welcome to Christian World News, everyone. I'm Wendy Griffith. Glad to have you with us today. Donald Trump shocked the world when he was elected president of the United States last year. But one man says he'd always known that Trump would win. I sat down with Mark Taylor, co-author of the Trump Prophecies, who says nearly everything God told him is coming to pass.
Running with him.
In April of 2011, retired firefighter Mark Taylor was watching the news when Donald Trump came on the screen.
I didn't know a lot about Donald Trump. I just knew he was a very powerful businessman, built this empire. I know he was toying with the idea of running for president at the time. You know, most people thought it was a joke.
Well, he's kind of a comic book figure. I mean, he's a show-off.
He's a sideshow who threatens to swallow the Republican Party.
So I'm listening to him on an interview, and all of a sudden I just heard the voice of the Lord say, "You're hearing the voice of a president."
Mark went into his office, got out a pen and paper, and started to write what he says the Holy Spirit told him.
You know, he was saying that basically that America was going to prosper like never before. Israel and America, the ties between the two countries would be stronger than ever before. The dollar would be the strongest it was ever been.
The economy is booming under this president.
We're up 254 points, 21,000 on the Dow.
It was very detailed as far as what God was showing me.
And Mark, this was 2011.
This was 2011.
Before he'd ever announced.
Before he ever announced.
At the time, Mark suffered from an illness, making him so lethargic he had to stay home. That's when he sought help from well-known Christian physician, Dr. Don Colbert. During one visit, Taylor shared the prophecy with Dr. Colbert and his wife, Mary.
Well, as I read this prophecy, I saw the Father's rhythm throughout the whole prophecy, and I recognized the rhythm. You know, our frequency, you could call it, because God has his own frequency. I literally collapsed into a chair because I was reading it standing, and I just collapsed in the chair and stood there looking at it in shock, thinking, Donald Trump is going to be our next president?
Mary knew if the prophecy were to come true, it would take a lot of prayer.
As I began getting the prophecy in the hands of major leaders across the country, the body of Christ, people that I knew that were influencers within their church, what I did is I started a prayer chain, 15 minutes a day, started on Labor Day. The Lord instructed me to do it on Labor Day. He says, this is going to be a labor of love.
Taylor originally thought the prophecy would happen during the 2012 presidential election, but it was not to be.
Thought I'd missed it. I truly missed it.
Then, on June 16th, 2015,
I am officially running for President of the United States.
Mark's prophetic word suddenly didn't seem so far-fetched. Still, most people didn't take the billionaire businessman seriously.
He would not be the commander-in-chief we need to keep our country safe.
Donald, adults learn not to interrupt you.
Yeah.
As the race for the White House grew heated and ugly at times, Colbert had moments of doubt and called on God for confirmation. She says he told her to watch the upcoming Belmont Stakes in June of 2016, where the horse named Creator beat Destin by a hair.
It was Creator and Destin right on the wire.
The headlines, CNN headlines, Creator wins by a photo finish. I sat back in my chair, Wendy, and I just, God, you're really going to do this.
The horse's name was Creator.
Creator.
And God's the creator.
He's the creator. I win.
When election night finally rolled around, Trump's win astounded the most experienced political journalists.
Well, my crystal ball's been shattered into atoms here because I predicted the exact opposite of what happened.
Taylor says God used Trump to stop an anti-Christian agenda that was taking hold of America.
The enemy's timeline has been denied by the Most High God, and it's through Donald Trump. A lot of this is being denied right now. And what God is saying right now is like, no, it's not time right now, because there's many, many things that God wants to accomplish on the earth right now.
But Taylor says there's one part of the prophecy that hasn't come to pass yet, regarding the news media.
Fake stories are being reported. A lot of bad things are being reported that aren't true.
So the news media would be captivated by him, and they would even begin to agree with him. That's the only line in a prophecy that hasn't come to pass yet. So we have to ask ourselves, what's fixing to happen to make the mainstream news media to begin to agree with him?
What is fixing to happen?
God's going to clean out the news media. God is looking for his people right now, his millionaires and his billionaires, basically, to come in and start investing in these places and buying them out, taking over. God's going to rebuild them and restore them because there's no spirit of truth in them right now. And that's what God's going to restore.
Taylor believes Trump's victory is just the beginning. The fireman prophet also predicts the church will thrive and America will see a great move of God.
The army of God will have victory after victory after victory. And I love what President Trump always says. He says, you're going to get sick and tired of winning if there is such a thing. And that's going to be the same way for the army of God. It's going to be victory after victory after victory.
Will it be an 8-year presidency?
Absolutely. Absolutely, we will.
You're sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure about that, because I think what's going to happen is that when people see the good that the country's coming into right now, the prosperity, the jobs, the economy, whatever the case may be, there's going to be no doubt he's going to sail right in for a second term.
And you can find out much more about Mark's prophecies, including an interesting prediction about the Supreme Court. You can also read the entire 2001 Trump prophecy about Donald Trump. You can find it all on our website, plus get his book, The Trump Prophecies, wherever books are sold. Well, evangelical Christians are among President Trump's biggest supporters. One reason is Vice President Mike Pence, who's an evangelical himself. Recently, CBN's David Brody asked Mr. Pence about the role Christians play in the Trump White House.
Evangelicals, we like to call it, boy, in the evangelical world, they're sure getting some access here, whether it be, the pro-life groups or the evangelical, policy groups, all of that. But beyond that, cabinet Bible studies, praying in the Oval Office, evangelicals around the country are going, wow, seems like a new day in Washington. What is going on, as we would say spiritually, at the White House?
Well, I think President Trump has a heart of gratitude for evangelical Christians in this country. I have to tell you, the sweetest words the President and I ever hear, and we hear them a lot, are when people grab us by the hand and say, we're praying for you. I've been with this President in the Oval Office with religious leaders when people have asked to pause for a moment of prayer, and the President readily embraces that. I think he's always very humbled and grateful by the support of believers. But let me be clear, President Trump is a believer, and so am I. And we understand the role of faith in the life of this nation. And the American people, I think, can be encouraged to know that in President Donald Trump, they have a leader who embraces and respects and appreciates the role of faith and the importance of religion in the lives of our families and our communities and our nation, and he always will.
Evangelicals showed their appreciation for President Trump after he recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The Friends of Zion Museum presented him with its Friend of Zion Award at the White House. The Jerusalem-based museum celebrates the story of the Jewish people and the non-Jews who work to defend them. Coming up, going home for Christmas, meet the Iraqi refugees returning to their villages after ISIS drove them out, and see the challenges they now face.
Get Pat Robertson's latest teaching.
Ask anything, and people have done just that.
Can Satan read our minds? What is the real deal on cremation? What are the really bad sins?
You'll ask a whole bunch of questions all at one time.
Partner with CBN and we'll send you Pat Robertson's latest teaching, Ask Anything.
I think it's hard for people today to know what's right or wrong, but there is a biblical standard.
I try to stay close to the Word of God and to give you answers from the Word of God.
Get biblical answers to today's probing questions on finance, relationships, career, health, spiritual well-being, and much more.
What's the Bible saying when we're dealing with issues, for example, of transgender? And then how, as Christians, do we deal with it?
It's a good question.
When is it the right time to sever ties with a family member?
Ask anything. Biblical answers to life's most probing questions.
Call now to get Ask Anything.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
That President Trump made the decision to now begin to funnel U.S. support, not through the United Nations in every program, but for the first time directly through USAID to help rebuild Christian communities and the communities of other religious minorities that have for too long been neglected.
That's Vice President Mike Pence telling CBN's David Brody about the Trump administration's efforts to help Christian refugees in the Middle East. In this Christmas season, hundreds of thousands of Christians are displaced after fleeing the ISIS brutality and the fighting in Syria and Iraq. This week, activists presented to the United Nations a petition with more than 800,000 signatures urging leaders to help persecuted Christians in Iraq and Syria. Recently, CBN News producer Emily Jones spoke with Robert Nicholson of the Philos Project about the petition and efforts to help these Christians get home.
Robert, what is it like on the ground for persecuted Christians in Iraq and Syria post-ISIS? What is it like to be a refugee?
It's really the Christians of Iraq are in this incredible limbo. So on one hand, we know what ISIS did. ISIS forced people out of their villages. They forced people to convert or die. And ISIS has pushed back. So on one hand, the Christians of Iraq have actually never been in a better situation in the last 3 years. On the other hand, when they do come back, those few that have, they find, destroyed villages, and the house that they used to live in is a pile of rubble. The school that their children used to go to is the same. So there's this sort of, they're caught between two worlds, and there's still conflict in Iraq, and there's this feeling of insecurity about the future. They're wondering, okay, it's okay now, but is there a future going forward for me and for my family?
And what are your thoughts on the Trump administration's decision to bypass the United Nations and work directly with groups on the ground?
Right. So this is something that my organization, the Philos Project, a number of other organizations have been asking for several years, recognizing that all of our aid money, hard-earned taxpayer dollars, go through the United Nations, which goes through other organizations. And by the time, the dollar gets to Iraq, it's 10 cents, if it gets there at all. And so, we, in meeting with church leaders, community leaders on the ground, we know that these communities know their communities best. Why give money to third parties to then give to the ground when we can just give to the ground? And so what President Trump, Vice President Pence have done is actually make a way for us to give our money directly to those leaders, to those communities, believing that they actually know how to spend the money. They know what the need is, and they'll meet it best.
And what can the people at home who are hearing about what's going on, what can they do to help?
The very first thing, and really the most important thing for people to do, is to talk about the issue. And it seems like a very small thing. Who cares? I tell people in my church, I tell my pastor about it, but I guarantee you that many fewer people know about this than you think they do. You and your church, you and your local community, in your school, you're the person who knows about this issue. It is your responsibility to bring it to light, to shine a light on the issue. People don't know. Everybody thinks, oh, nobody cares about the issue. The truth is, most people don't know, and people who do know have the responsibility to begin talking about it, point to things like this petition and to some of the work that's being done to help people return.
Thanks, Emily. Emily hosts Christian World News Now. That's our Facebook program, and you can see it every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Check it out on our CBN News Facebook page. Well, up next, once he was a prosperous doctor, in America. Today, he's living in a remote part of Africa. Follow the journey of this missionary doctor when we come back.
Get Pat Robertson's latest teaching. Ask anything.
When a family isn't giving a full tithe, does that limit God's financial blessing in their lives?
It's a good question.
Does God ever speak audibly? Have you ever heard God's voice?
Get answers to today's probing questions on finance, relationships, career, health, and spiritual well-being.
People want to know, what does God say about these things?
Ask anything.
Available now.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Welcome back to Christian World News. In 2010, Eric Hansen gave up a lucrative medical career in America to pursue his dream of serving the poorest of the poor. He packed his bags and took his wife and 4 children 8,000 miles from South Texas to a remote part of Africa where he now serves as a missionary doctor. Our George Thomas brings us his inspiring story from Kenya.
Para sikumbili tutitompira, okay? Sawa.
Dr. Eric Hansen didn't speak Swahili before he moved to Kenya. In fact, he and his family never planned on living on the African continent at all.
My wife actually asked me when we were dating if I was going to be a long-term cross-cultural missionary, and I said no, and that was the right answer. So it was a little bit of a bait and switch. What brought us here 7 years ago was really God changing our heart.
The Hansens moved from Texas to Kenya, specifically to work at Kijabe Hospital, which is about an hour outside the capital city of Nairobi.
Where are things with you? Are you okay? Are you ready? Okay, so can we...
Hansen is the lead pediatric surgeon at Kijabe. By definition, he's a missionary doctor, but the definition is changing.
The model of the past, where mission hospitals were staffed almost exclusively by expatriate missionaries, is maybe relevant in some places, but increasingly not the best model. And I think that as we train, as the Kenyan staff here at Kijabe grows, half the physicians are African here.
Scrub team, we have Mureris, Francis Kimani's here also, and then we have students. Okay.
If that means that in 10, 15, 20 years, I'm not needed here, that's fantastic. But if I am, that's fine too.
To better appreciate the services provided by these Christian hospitals, you just need to look at the numbers. For example, here in Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
If he were simply a surgeon, Hansen could perhaps treat hundreds of children each year, but as a teacher, the reach is far greater.
Training these people who will go out and train others, we're talking about tens of thousands of children. That's more than I could ever do in a lifetime. I think it's a great testimony to the love of Christ.
Well, we try to put the names of all the children next to
over their head and just let them know that they're loved.
Every opportunity we get to care for someone is an opportunity to be love.
It's a sentiment shared by many at the hospital, including Chief Surgeon Dr. Peter Bird.
So I might be very good at taking appendix out, but someone like Mercy or other pastors are really good at just sharing the gospel. That's critical. You can't just be populating hell with all these people with excellent hernia repairs. You've got to be actually doing more than that.
Twice each day, doctors, staff, and patients have the opportunity to attend services at the campus chapel.
Because of what he did about 2,000 years ago, he's still speaking life to each and every one of us.
Still, the challenges here can be great. And there are everyday life challenges living abroad.
Hello.
The question is on the way.
Hello.
You know, we don't always have running water. That can be frustrating. Electricity is generally reliable.
Ready. Hey, good morning.
What? Do you know where the sugar is? I put it over by the coffee machine, I thought. Yeah.
There are days I think I could pack up and we could live a different life somewhere else.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we wouldn't trade this life for anything. Big picture, we're happy here. We have a sense of purpose, a sense of calling.
I think the challenges that we have here ultimately pale in comparison to the opportunities that we have. There's the epiglottis, okay? It's a privilege to be able to operate on anybody. From a surgeon standpoint, it's a cool case. From the patient standpoint, we hope we can really help the child and the family. And then from a training standpoint, it's key.
Hansen and Bird could easily make 6 figures in their home countries.
Where I come from, Australia, there are many surgeons. They don't need another surgeon there, really.
Instead, they have chosen a different life, a different calling, with its own unique rewards.
Living here, we feel like we've hit the lottery. It's about obedience, it's about, you know, love, hopefully response and love, and loving other people that are my trainees, but also my colleagues and also the patients. So let me say a prayer for Moby. God in heaven, we pray for your mercy. I thank you for the chance to take care
George Thomas, CBN News, Kijabe, Kenya.
What a story and what a sacrifice. A labor of love, though, for sure. Well, stay with us. We'll be right back with more Christian World News.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
We're all in this together. There's no pretenses.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
At age 16, Jordan Whitmer came up with an idea to lead his friends to Christ. Today, just 3 years later, he's leading a national ministry that helps high school students do just that. Heather Sells reports.
The key to this ministry is student leadership, and the proof: no one over 18 is allowed on that stage. It's the big idea behind what's known as How to Life. From start to finish, students lead. That includes worship, running the soundboard, and sharing their testimonies.
I attempted to take my own life. I did not feel a purpose on this earth.
I just broke down and I said, God, I really need you to help me through this right now.
God came so that you may have life, and so that you may have it abundantly.
CBN News went to Wichita Falls, Texas for this How to Life event, led by Angel Velasquez.
I was really excited that it was kids my age trying to reach out to kids my age.
Jordan Whitmer was a junior in high school when he realized students want to live out their faith. That's why he started How to Life.
Students today really want truth. They want hope. They want real, genuine, quality, legit facts about how they truly can live for Jesus.
It's a frustration common to many high school students who are growing in their faith but unsure about how to share it.
The story we continue to hear are these students that say, hey, I wanted to do something like this. I want to reach my friends for Jesus, but I don't really know how.
In just 3 years, thousands have attended How to Life rallies and hundreds have accepted Christ.
Tonight was phenomenal, way better than I could have ever perceived.
I got to witness so many different people rededicate their lives to Christ and meet him for the first time and just truly experience his presence for the first time, which is awesome.
The people I saw come to Christ, I was just overwhelmed with joy.
These students believe they must take responsibility for their generation, and they won't be held back by their youth.
We will be the ones who are going to lead the church next. And so at some point, we've got to take that leadership.
Vulnerability is a key to making this ministry work. Students have to be willing to tell their friends stories of God's work in their lives. Stories that include everything from family conflict to thoughts of suicide.
And my mom walked in and she held me and she said, "Child, you're my heart. I cannot lose you." And when we're going through tough times like this, God is literally standing here, arms open, saying, "Child, you are my heart. I cannot lose you."
For Whitmer, the path is clear, coming alongside students who are ready to share their faith and willing to invest in the months of planning needed to pull off nights like this.
I view that time is short for us to step up and make a difference and impact an entire generation of teenagers that so desperately need Jesus.
Reporting in Wichita Falls, Texas, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Thank you, Heather. Lots of wisdom from those young folks. Well, thanks for joining us this week. Until next week, from all of us here at Christian World News, goodbye, and as always, God bless you.